Welcome to Plus One Forward, the podcast powered by the Apocalypse, where we talk about tabletop role-playing games using or inspired by the Apocalypse engine. I'm your co-MC, Rich.
And I'm not your co-MC exactly this time, Rach.
That's right. This is a wholly different episode type. We're doing something new, is what we're saying. This, if you've read the episode description, this is an actual play, but it's a little different. We are going to be playing with a couple of folks from the Gauntlet. Greg Gelder. Greg, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Rich, how are you?
I'm very, very excited to be playing with you, friend. And then we also have Cody Eastlick. Cody, how are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Happy to be here.
So we're going to play a game. We're going to start with Apocalypse World. But hey, it was the first, but this is the burned over flavor. You can find on itch.io the most recent version from September of 2021, which I quite like. And then, Rach, where do we decide our apocalypse took place?
Well, given that this is a brand new experiment, I decided to go back to that great Rich Rogers touchstone Star Wars Saturdays.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But we're doing something a little bit different because we don't want folks to feel left out because Star Wars Saturdays is this like whole crazy thing. It has a wiki and all this other stuff. So it's inspired by Star Wars Saturdays, but it's taking place in a very interesting time in the Star Wars history. So originally we were thinking, oh, well, Tatooine, everybody's really familiar with Book of Boba Fett, assuming everybody. Like Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian both took place on Tatooine. Maybe we take place then, 5 years after the end of Return of the Jedi. But then Cody said, I've got a crazy idea. Around the time that these episodes will be coming out, Obi-Wan will be coming out as well. And that takes place when, Cody?
The Dark Times.
Yes! So that is our setting. It is around the time that Obi-Wan has escaped Order 66. The Empire is rising. Some of the media that we have access to, Bad Batch, is taking place about this time. It's before Rebels really happens, the Rebels animated series, right, Cody? Check me on this. I'm just making sure.
Yeah. Rebels is pretty close to A New Hope.
Yeah, exactly, right. Because they lead in. That's why we see the ghost in Rogue One. So we are there. We're Dark Times. It's early on. Jedis are gone or being hunted, and we are on Tatooine. Jabba is still around and in the height of his power, I believe. And that is exciting. I don't miss Jabba, but I miss Jabba. Anyway, so there it is. We are post the prequel series of movies before New Hope, in that space, in the Dark Times, pretty early after Order 66, when the Empire's really, really rationing down. So that's the setting. Our hard zone, that is part of Apocalypse World Burned Over. The hard zone is what is your setting. I have a custom hard zone, the Tatooine Desert's hard zone. The locations are Mos Espa, Mos Eisley, Anchorhead, Junland Waste, Jabba's Palace, Motesta, and the Shatters. They're all things you can look up on Wikipedia. Half of them I assume you've heard of. So that is our setting. And we are to the point of character creation, where everybody's ready to introduce their characters to each other, because we wanted to do a little bit of HX live on air, because I think HX is a really exciting time in that first part of the game where folks are going to tie each other together. And the best part about HX is you can create some heat. It may be positive relationship or it may be like antagonistic relationship, but you care about these characters. So, Rach, lead us off. Tell us a bit about your character.
I'm going to see if I can tell everyone about my character without making Rich go reach for YouTube to play some music videos. I am going to be playing Kyrie Fortinant as the Vigilant. kind of a bit of a nostalgic touchstone for me because due to complicated reasons we won't get into here, I think Wolves of the Maelstrom are really interesting in Apocalypse World. And Kyrie was the name of my first West End game Star Wars character.
Yay!
Not quite the same character as last time, not if anyone's listening to this who was playing in that game. But yes, I'm playing Kyrie as the Vigilant. I imagine her as kind of like a bit of a scrapper, person who is gathering stray merchandise to sell in the black market, who came into possession of a hollow book, maybe one from the Jedi archives that got onto the black market in the aftermath of the Republic and ended up reading some material she probably shouldn't have read, and now is in search of Wolves of the Maelstrom, perhaps creatures that exist in the Force or outside of the Force. What are they exactly? Well, we'll get around to that later. Maybe you're a Wolf of the Maelstrom. Who knows?
Who knows indeed. Cody, you are in the middle of the character keeper in the middle space in my heart. So if you could, tell us about your character.
Yeah, today, well, for these games, I'll be playing Bantha Bren, the Restless. He's rough, rugged, weather-beaten. He's a bit of a wanderer, a hunter, a survivalist, perhaps. If you want to think of him as Rooster Cogburn from True Grit, you'd be pretty much on the money, I'd say. He runs around the Tatooine wastes with a Massif, which is the dog-like creatures we see the Tusken Raiders palling around with in the Book of Boba Fett. His Massif is named Dog, and he's his right hand. He's slobbery, goofy, but he's there for you when it counts, I think, is the hope, at least. We'll see how that plays out.
Half the dice agree. Very cool. And last but certainly not least, Greg.
Hey, I'm Greg. I'm playing Druben. Druben is the Harrier playbook, which is essentially the chopper from Apocalypse World. So Druben runs a swoop gang on Tatooine known as the Kyber Minox. And they're a ragtag group that's, I think that they were at one point kind of riding a little high on the Bantha, and there's been a turn of fortune recently. But Druben is known for his generosity, but if you cross him, if you just say the wrong thing, you see another side of him. And then Druben also has a gang, who he, of course, is around with these Kyber Minox. The lieutenant is Chochek, who's a Devaronian. Those are the red aliens with the horns that come out the front. The scout for the gang is Gwaz, who's a Rodian. And then the best fighter is Harry, and she is a Zabrak as well.
That is so cool. That is awesome, and I like them a lot. So within HX, after everyone has introduced their characters, we go around and we establish connections. So it's your turn. We'll stick with you, Greg, for Druben.
Ooh, let's see. This kind of feels very out of character for both of you, so I'm interested in this as a question. Which of you have called upon me and my birds, my Minox, my gang, to get violent revenge for you?
I think of the two. I think Bantha Bren perhaps needed a gang to do something that he and Dog couldn't do. And he came to Druben and the Minox looking for help.
Oh, and so I take -1 HX with you because you asked me a favor. Who did we exact violent revenge upon? And are they even still around?
I'm thinking, tell me what you think about this. Bantha Bren, I think he's not a Tatooine native, but he's been around for a while now. I think he's a separatist. He was a separatist in the Clone Wars. At least he was coming from those planets. And when the war turned south on him, he had to make for the Outer Rim, stay away from the heat. And perhaps a stormtrooper who knew him, perhaps there was some Imperial entanglement that Bren couldn't get out of on his own, so he had to set up a trap. And that
So
think of that.
So I like that it's not even so much that you and Dog couldn't handle it. It's you needed the plausible deniability that the Kyber Minox would provide. That it would just be another bad accident in a back alley of Tatooine.
That's right.
To this person hunting you down.
Not a bowcaster bolt to the blastoid chest piece. It was just an accident in Tatooine.
Okay. Very cool.
Where are we saying that this accident took place?
Oh, well, it has to be somewhere where the Kyber Minox would be around.
Right.
I mean, do we want to do this in like the outskirts of Mos Eisley?
I'm open to where you think the Minox would be operating. I think closer to a city would make more sense. I think if it was in the wastes too far, Bantha Bren might be able to try, and he might have been able to take it himself, if that makes sense.
So I'm looking at the Tatooine Hard Zone, and I'm thinking Anchorhead. Because of course this is written as this was written for when we were thinking about post Empire, but now we're doing Dark Times, and they're probably building Fort Iron Hand at Anchorhead.
Oh, nice.
And that's where this Imperial is this like an ISB agent was tracking you down?
It sure was exactly that.
Okay, yeah, it was like a. Sort of they're stirring out the locals where the Kyber Minox were based, and we made it look like it was a scuffle over that and not a favor that we were doing for you.
Perfect.
That is fantastic. Cody, a.k.a. Bantha Bren, what's the HX you'd like to offer up?
Yeah, I think I just have the one. Which is, do any of you rely on me? What for?
Oh, I'll take that. I'm looking a little bit into your character sheet. I'm snooping around. What trouble do you get up to, Bantha Bren?
Bantha Bren, he might not be... He's what the locals might call a extracurricular hunter. And I think he finds himself on the wrong side of the law frequently when he gets his hands on furs or meats, whatever the wastes have to offer. He consistently maybe comes back with stuff he doesn't have tags for, doesn't have permits to be getting. And maybe Jabba's folks don't take kindly to that. I think that's the kind of stuff he gets into. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm thinking of ways we can link up, because I do my own sort of hunting, and I think in order to fuel my personal quest to go find these wolves, I come across valuable supplies and resources that could be flipped on the black market. Do you think that's something I could be relying on you to go out to you and say, how can I categorize this that's going to go under the nose of the controlling black market?
Perhaps can I offer a suggestion?
Sure.
Since your character is seeking things, and Bantha Bren is kind of all about being restless and wandering the wastes, maybe you rely on him for information of spots that you haven't explored yet.
I like that.
Nice.
Because he's not interested in caves full of artifacts. He's interested in caves full of banthas.
Yeah, definitely. These artifacts, you don't need them, but I need them. And I could depend on you to pass along information about what you found this week.
Yeah, perfect.
That's great. Does Druben rely upon Bantha Bren then, is the next question. Since you just have one question, might as well pose to both.
Oh, it looks like... I'm sorry, Greg. It looks like I have two questions. One that does give history +1. It just didn't fit all on the character keeper. But I think I know that it doesn't apply to Druben necessarily. But it bears just speaking aloud. Have any of you lived in this place all your life so that you know stories about what's lost and hidden out there?
Oh, I mean, we could reflavor it. I don't necessarily have to have been here all my life to know stories about what's out there. I've lived here long enough. Do I tell you the true stories I know, or do I tell you the fanciful ones you want to hear?
I think you tell me the fanciful ones I want to hear, which I often then turn over immediately to Kyrie. The ones that are too fanciful, I know that that's not my kind of score, you know? As soon as there's weirdness going on, old Bantha Bren ain't interested in that anymore. He passes that along. He had enough of that weirdness back in the war.
I've told you about, we need a big fish story. Like the palette swapped Cryat Dragon, right? Like, is it like the... Oh no. Okay. It's a crate dragon with two heads like the twin sons of Tatooine.
Oh.
It's a double-headed crate dragon. That's the story.
Bantha Bren's on the hunt for the great two-headed crate.
Yep.
Love it.
That is written down. And that is amazing. Let's jump over to you, Kyrie. What HX would you like to offer up?
I do, in fact, only have one question, which I extend to both of you. Are you a wolf of the Maelstrom? You could say yes, you could say no, or literally any other answer.
Ask them in turn.
Okay, Bantha Bren, are you a wolf of the Maelstrom?
No, that's just my dog. That's just dog.
Nice.
Druben, are you a wolf of the Maelstrom?
If I was, I'm not sure I'd tell you.
Those are both very suitable answers.
Excellent work.
I'll add them to my research notes.
Cool. So, Bantha Bren, I think you hit both your questions. We'll circle back to Druben.
Oh.
What would you like to offer to Kyrie?
I'm going to offer you, which of you can I consider a genuine friend?
I saw that one on your sheet, and I thought it was a really interesting angle.
Yeah. You know, I like the whole, I saved somebody, but I think it's more interesting if there's, why does Druben consider Kyrie a genuine friend?
I wonder if it's very obvious that we're not initially from around here. Perhaps we have lived in a similar community off on another planet.
Okay. I think my gang in general feels very Tatooine, but Druben himself does feel like a little bit above. He is maybe looking down his nose at some of the locals on occasion. And to have somebody who is simultaneously also from, there's like the core worlds of Star Wars. There's the mid-rims and the colonies. I think that's kind of probably where he's a Zabrak, but I don't think he was born on Dathomir.
Okay. So
I think he's from a more civilized kind of upbringing. And then also, I don't think Druben's terribly concerned about Kyrie like making a move for his turf. At least not this particular moment.
Yeah.
And that's a rare thing on Tatooine.
It's true. I'm more interested in things that aren't really territory, but I think there's that shared quality of, I think we may have integrated with this community, but we're both definitely not from around here, but we're integrating and feeling our ways through. Maybe we exchange notes. We've discovered a quirk in the local culture and be like, hey, if you say this to the bartender on this particular night of the week, they'll throw you in like an extra ounce of alcohol. Tell this guy a joke. He enjoys it.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that concludes HX, right? Short and sweet, but sets things up extremely well. I like the relationships that we have on tap and a few of the NPCs that we've created.
Can I revise my answer to it's Kyrie, right?
Kyrie or Kyrie, whatever
Kyrie,
works.
Okay. Can I revise my answer slightly?
Sure.
I don't think I am, but I know Harry is. Harry is my fighter.
Oh.
Excellent.
Well, there you go. That is the HX for our characters. And the next time we meet together, we'll do a little bit of play. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Cody. And thank you, Rach.
And thank you, Rich, for sharing your Star Wars expertise with a pool of people with Star Wars expertise.
So much expertise going around here.
Yeah, we promise not to lose people much.
We won't lose you much, we promise.
Plus One Forward is a production of the Gauntlet community, Richard Rogers and Rach Shelkey. You can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com or follow us on Twitter at +1FWD. If you would like to support our show, visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/gauntlet. The games mentioned on this show use the Apocalypse engine, which is a creation of Vincent and Magay Baker. The music for Plus One Forward is from the Savage Aural Hotbed CD Gomi Daiko. The songs used are Gomi Daiko, Metal Version, and Drowning Attitude. You can find more amazing tunes by Savage Aural Hotbed on their website, www.savageauralhotbed.com.
You can now get Hearts of Wulin Worlds on Drive-Thru RPG. This supplement for Hearts of Wulin includes alternate settings and new mechanics. In it you'll find Shadow of the Joseon, a historical Korean setting, 1905 San Francisco, Chinatown in the shadow of the Chinese Exclusion Act, Corps de la Épée, a fantastic swashbuckling France, Academy of the Blade, an anime-inspired dueling school, Fight Me IRL, a cyberpunk corporatized future, and Silk and Steam, a silk-punk fantasy setting. As well, Hearts of Wulin Worlds contains a new core playbook, detailed options for running wuxia mysteries, and more. You can get the PDF, as well as the core Hearts of Wulin book, at our drive-thru publisher site, bit.ly/gauntlet-publishing.